Welcome to INS, the International News Service, your source for the most important weird news from across the globe. With news analyst Kevin Harrison, actor, comedian, and musician Mike Wiebe, and professional commentator Brian Camp. INS, the news you need.
Holy fuck, it's a good episode this week that we haven't recorded yet.
Normally we do a couple practice rounds, so
yeah,
we know what it's going to be.
Smoke and mirrors.
We do script the whole thing. People don't realize all of this, what I'm reading right now, is words off a script.
It's really hard to keep.
I'm off book.
Some of the continuity stuff from that we've established in our background and our characters. It's hard to keep it straight. So,
especially when I've been living a method lifestyle, trying to get into character by living in a manner that the character would live like,
right.
You know,
surrounded by Doctor Strange comics.
The illusion.
That's exactly. just like the illusions that Doctor Strange casts.
That's right.
It's an illusion.
I was hoping for a Dormammu reference.
Yeah, Dormammu does not cast illusions. He casts black magic arts that seem that they are real if you've committed to believing in him, which I have not.
He lives in a different dimension, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's his world called? Do you know offhand?
He lives in I don't know. the Dormammu dimension.
Oh, yeah.
The Phantom Zone.
We can probably traverse a number of ours. We keep him out of ours. Doctor Strange keeps him out of our reality.
Right.
You know, as established, at least for my character on this particular enterprise, I listen to a lot of old radio shows. And I think I've told you about one of them that it's one of my favorite. It's called Chandu the Magician.
Ooh, that's a good name. I know the name.
The Magician.
Yeah.
But supposedly that is what inspired the Doctor Strange character.
Oh, that sounds right.
Chandu, the Magician. And I also think that it's Chandu because his name's Chandler and he's a Westerner who lives in India. And so I think it's a little bit of a play on maybe the way his name is pronounced in another place.
I'm sure.
But hey, it was a time.
They didn't know.
They didn't know.
They didn't know how to behave.
I do wonder though, like, not to defend anything, but I wonder if in their eyes is like, man, I'm this stuff's so cool and interesting to me, talking about these other cultures, and they thought they were, if anybody back then thought that they were like drawing attention to something that was exciting and interesting to them, and they didn't know that they were like reinforcing or creating maybe even stereotypes.
There definitely was a lot of that where it's like, you know, like I think Alan Quatermain was some of that, like, you know, where it's like, well, I'm honoring the African continent and, you know, showing how wonderful and varied and nuanced and human it is.
Yeah.
On the one hand, on the other hand, there is the guy who wrote Fu Manchu, who explicitly was like, oh no, I'm racist and I'm writing racist literature. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think Sean that they never. It's never a laugh. It's never like a oh, you silly. It's not like Hop Sing and Paladin, right? Which is super hard to hear sometimes. So I do think it is an example of them trying to delve into a culture for the value that interesting otherworldly place would have on an American audience. I don't think at any point they're making fun of it. But you never know. Like it's radio, so you don't know who's doing the accents or what. So it didn't read mean to me at all. It was but what do I know?
Well, that's like with, and I don't know if it passes, but with those McEwen's characters that I do with Avery, they're like religious fundamentalist, youth pastor Christians. But the bit on them is like and I think our thoughts on these characters, like they're truly sweet people who are like not racist at all, but they have no idea how to say words that are current and up to date as far as how we are sensitive with terminology. They're just like they're not going to say things. They're not going to say things that people said in the 50s or 60s, but they're definitely like they're just unsure of the difference between like Asian and Oriental doesn't really, there's nothing cruel, and they're not refusing to learn, but they're also not very bright, so they're not picking up stuff. And you have to sort of like accept that as I don't know, maybe you don't have to, but there is a weird caveat on that. Like, they just didn't know that then.
Well, intent has to matter, right? I mean, if not to get too far off what this is.
Explain a little bit about the McEwens, just because I love the McEwens, but I want, give a little taste so that maybe the listeners might look up a video or something.
Oh, it's me and a friend of mine, Avery Moore. We pretend to be these fundamentalist Christian youth ministers from somewhere here in the South who are unable to have children, desperately want to be around children all the time. So they're probably in their 40s, and they're trying to remain really hip. They don't have kids themselves because both of their internal reproductive systems don't work, and they try to be really hip. They're really outgoing, doing their best to be young and hip and appear cool to the kids. They're shooting their shot. They're very sweet, but they're not incredibly bright, and everything. Most things in life are twisted into a reason to praise Jesus or be fearful of not being Christian. Like in their world, like the three most dangerous things in greater order. Like the least most dangerous thing to the youth is guns. The second most is drugs, and the first most dangerous is Ouija boards.
Accurate.
Well, yeah, it's true. I mean, you can't argue with that logic. Yeah,
good stuff. The McEwens. Yeah. Check it out online.
No, I think the value of it. The funny thing to me is, and I always assume that this is a mistake we probably make constantly on this particular podcast as well, that other people have the exact same background that we do. So it is. I enjoy the McEwens because that is, if you have heard those people, which I have in my life, that is what it's not. It's. I know that you're playing it for a laugh, and there is some of it is obviously a little over the top, but it's nowhere near as over the top, I think, as someone who doesn't have experience with people like that would believe. Right? It's not. It's really not that far fetched. That is. It's a thing.
No, I always say it's just repeating things I overheard and turning the dial up just maybe one notch. Right.
So, welcome to the International News Service. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin Harrison, along with
Brian Camp.
I'm Mike Wiebe.
Really got the energy up today.
No, it's not about energy. It's about subtlety. It's like Robert Duvall in Tender Mercies. Yes, he's not over the top, but he's delivering an Oscar-worthy performance. It's the ghost notes. It's what he's saying without saying it, between the lines. That's what we just did. This is going to be a nuanced episode.
Okay.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Excited.
This episode is full of nuance.
Get ready as multiple angles and shades are explored over the next 45 minutes of high fidelity entertainment.
It's going to make you question your own sexuality.
When does North become Northwest and vice versa, Michael? That's the kind of thing we really want to get into this week.
When does Kanye West's Child North become Northwest?
So he went super crazy, right?
Yeah, he went batshit fucking crazy. He's losing everything.
He's doing it on purpose, right? This is sabotage. This is like career suicide.
Sabotage.
Just to let the listener know, this episode doesn't come out for like 3 weeks because we have to record early because everybody's out of town but me because I don't have a life. So it's probably gotten a lot crazier by now.
Yeah, it probably has, right? As of this point, he's lost. You've heard about him freaking out, but at this moment, he's lost his creative agency, or the CAA, Creative Artists Agency. So he's lost his agents. He's lost
attorney.
His attorney. He's lost the sponsorship with Balenciaga, which is a fashion brand that apparently I feel like he cares more about fashion stuff than anything else, really, and that's probably hurt him the worst. But to me, it just seems like a guy who's has severe mental health issues, and there's it's almost a little bit Howard Hughesian, in that there's nobody. He's so rich, and there's nobody who can tell him no, and the people that could tell him no are the people that make their entire living off of him. So they're afraid to tell him no. Yep. And he's just, it's Howard Hughes. Nobody's gonna confront him about all this stuff, especially when he doesn't. Having to recover from stuff like that is painful. You got to do a whole bunch of stuff that you don't like doing, and it sucks. We'll see what happens.
I don't think it's possible for him to. I mean, it's not a complete Brewster's Millions problems. He could burn through all his money, but I think that unless he did overt things that indicated that he wasn't really this at all, he just wants to destroy his life entirely.
Right.
Like, he's never going to be broke. He is always going to be, just by virtue of being himself, a source of some level of income, even if it's only on the front page of stormfront.org or whatever it is. Like even if that's the only place he has any notoriety, he'll make money off of that somehow. He has become too famous to ever wind back the fame, except by turning into a complete recluse.
Yeah.
What if once Elon Musk tanks Twitter, which could be any day now, it could be by the time this episode comes out. What if then he's like, hey, Kanye, I know you just bought Parler. I got another big investment for you. And then he sells him Twitter. And then Twitter's a smoking wasteland by that point.
Didn't Kanye throw a bunch of money away on a music platform? Like a streaming service?
Happen. Yeah.
With Jay-Z and some other folks?
I think
that service is still. I don't think it's successfal particularly, but it's still going. Tidal's still up and going, and I think that
is that what it's called? Tidal, Tidal,
Tidal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember that. Yeah,
it's still out there, but I don't know anybody that uses it. But I don't know. I mean, I would imagine he'll be fine. The light bills will always get paid.
Well, there was a time like 6 years ago, he was like having financial problems, and he said on some show like, Zuckerberg, call me, give me $1 billion or something, like, because he didn't have any.
He's always saying something crazy. When you're that rich, you're never gonna be broke.
Right.
There's no losing all that money.
Right.
Like you're just not.
Well, what about who was that guy that we covered? The antivirus guy, Norton.
Well, we don't think. Remember, we thought he buried his gold out in the jungle.
Are you talking about McAfee?
Oh, McAfee, that's the guy.
Yeah, McAfee. Yeah,
yeah. I don't think he lost all of it. I mean, I think,
and that's also supposedly worth like $100,000 by the time he died.
But he was going out of his way, and I guess that's my point. If
he was going out of his way to blow us,
if Kanye's legitimately crazy, he's not trying to go broke.
Right.
He just isn't trying to maximize his wealth earning potential, but he still wants to make money. Right. So it's and just like Mike says, if there's that many people if they're not shutting him down because he is a source of income, they're also not going to let him stop being the source of their income. They will do stuff to manipulate that. Right.
Yeah. They'll do. I mean, at some point there'll be a big apology, and I would think
there'll be a series about it.
There'll be an apology. There'll be some sort of it's time we actually talk about mental illness,
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm all for that conversation, because even if it doesn't work, it needs to happen. There's not enough.
I think mental illness. I think it's shameful. I think it's something that people should just.
Well, I mean, it does show that if you ever get like depression or anxiety, it's a sign of weakness.
Right. Don't let people know.
And in fact, and I get it.
We do not advocate that position.
No, I do advocate it, and I used, and admittedly, in a shameful way, like I used to feel weak and occasionally get down, but then I found the Alpha Brain Monkey Mindset, and I read the book that was in my head before I actually wrote it down and put it out there, and oh my God, guys, it's. In fact, this is a general shout out to Kanye. I want you to read my book, Alpha Brain Monkey Mindset, Rags to Riches, then back to rags again. But guess what? I'm still rich. No, literally, I'm still rich, full of money. That's the full title of the book.
Wow, it's a long
maybe
title.
You need to check that out, Kanye, and specifically check out Chapter 7. Don't be racist, dog. That's the title of the chapter.
Wow. How do you spell dog?
D-O-G.
Oh, okay.
Well, because it's a metaphor of me telling my German Shepherd Happy not to bark at the neighbors. No. But it goes into a thing. It goes into a whole thing about how if racism's wrong for a dog, shouldn't it be wrong for people?
Whoa.
And the answer at the end of that chapter is yes. Because you gotta lay stuff out in a way that people can understand it. Because you can't just go like, hey,
spoiler alert.
Well, it's cool that you took such chances, right? That you were willing to put something like that down on paper.
Yeah, people don't want to hear that. I mean, but sometimes they have to, because there's that thing of like, if I just say, hey, racism is wrong, people are going to be like, I don't know about that. But if I prove to you that dogs shouldn't be racist, and then I'd show, hey, guess what? If humans like dogs so much, don't you think that we should act a little bit more like them? And then people are like, oh, shit.
Deep.
Yeah, the book is constantly providing aha moments.
And that was my aha moment. I'm going to race to the nearest Walden books and pick up a copy.
Yeah,
there's no more Walden books, Brian.
Probably Nebraska.
Go to Borders,
Barnes and Noble. They're still around.
Well, Barnes and Noble's the Borders isn't, but Barnes and Noble is.
Go to Books A Million.
Is it available at the checkout stand of all GameStops? Is that?
We have. It's an oversized softback book.
Perfect.
It's the for dummies version. Alpha Brain Monkey Mindset for Dummies.
Wow. Does it come with some, Alpha Brain Monkey Mindset pills that raise IQ points?
Oh, but it has several websites. It has directions to get onto the Tor browser, and then it has directions where to go on the Tor browser in order to buy the pills.
I mean, why create a paper trail if you don't have to, right? I think that's rule number 19. Don't be wasteful. Don't be wasteful.
This week, we've got 2 news stories, an arts and culture story, and Mike has a news story for us and Get to Know Your podcast.
This is the beginning of a new series, folks.
Excited.
You want to get in on this one because we've got a lot to cover in the next month.
Start queuing up for tickets.
I hear this is going to be a little more uplifting.
Oh, Mike! So this is episode 95. Will this series go through episode 100?
Ooh, I don't know. We may have to plan out something real special for 100. I want everyone to start getting ready for episode 100.
Right. 5 weeks from now.
Yeah, 5 weeks from now. Send us in, your INS 100 tattoos, pictures of those, and we'll be telling you, we'll be cluing you into some of the celebrations that are going to be happening
around the globe.
Around the globe a month and a week from now.
Everybody should be getting the INS magician tattooed somewhere on them.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like that's
the Swami,
the mysterious INS magician. Yeah, that's good. Are we still going to do our suicide pact for 100?
Oh yeah.
It's happening.
Okay, cool.
Over the Niagara Falls. Oh wait, is that a spoiler?
I thought it was going to be just simultaneous beheadings.
Yeah, but while we're physically in the air over the Niagara Falls, crashing towards the deadly waves below.
I was thinking we put a razor line somewhere halfway down the Niagara Falls, so then when we're going down, we all hit that line at the same time and whap, 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 whap.
So our first story comes to us from Gizmodo. A few years ago,
don't feed him after midnight.
A few years ago, Google Japan began showcasing Ludacris redesigns of keyboards as April Fool's Day pranks.
That's my favorite rapper. I bet they're cool.
April Fool's Day?
No, Ludacris. A motherfucker named Ludacris. Woo!
One of these joke keyboards rearranged the standard QWERTY keyboard layout so that every single letter, number, and character was in one long strip like the keys of a piano. Now, however, Google Japan appears to be in development of what it calls the Gboard stick. The prototype is about 65 inches across, or 1.65 meters, and about 2.5 inches deep, or about 6.5 centimeters, so it could fit on the edge of even like a super messy desk. Google Japan said the Gboard stick would allow users to stretch their arms and legs more and could allow 2 people to comfortably use one keyboard at the same time, which sounds really difficult. Google Japan also released all their design information on github.com, so you don't have to wait for these to hit the market. You could make your own right now.
I don't understand.
So look at the keyboard in front of you right now, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine somebody started with a little squiggly and they just they just made every one of those rows in your keyboard, they just turned into one long line that was 5 feet,
squiggly.
5 inches long. Yeah, a little squiggly. What is that?
It's a
escape.
Mine's not an escape key, but yeah, sometimes it's an escape key. So
the tilde. The tilde,
right?
The tilde, yeah. So imagine escape key, tilde. Imagine just picking up that row and putting it on the table, and then the row next to it, pick that up, put it right next to it, and then you have, one long line of keys.
Wouldn't that take insanely long to type anything?
Yeah, I think it probably would. I think this is a terrible idea.
I don't understand why you would do that.
It started out as a joke keyboard, and apparently it's caught on. And I don't know why you would do it in the QWERTY design.
I think it's still a joke keyboard. I think that's why they released it on GitHub. Right? Yeah, GitHub.
But they made a working prototype, which I'm impressed by.
Commitment to the bit, I guess. But
I like that. Yeah, isn't the whole deal behind the QWERTY keyboard is that it was designed to slow you down, so in an old typewriter the keys wouldn't strike each other when they were striking the paper?
I think that's part of it. I did some research to try to look into this. It was invented at some point in the 1870s, but I got real bored with it, and it wasn't really relevant to the story, so I didn't do that much research. Well, there's a thing called Wikipedia, though, has a long article about it.
Well, QWERTY, I didn't know that. I thought it was designed because those are the letters that you use the most in certain scenarios.
It is designed to be more appropriate for the left hand as well. Like that's why the S, T, E, and A are all, and the R are all on your left side.
I think I've said it before in here. Typing is maybe one of the few upper level classes that I actually use in my daily life.
It is true. What do you do? 60 words a minute? 70?
90.
Oh,
it's pretty good. It's weird to think that there was a time where
X. You're thinking about how good it is that I'm writing
X
over and over again.
Just the idea that that one, it's X over and over again. That counts as one word, and still you're somehow only up to 90 a minute.
Well, sometimes I'll need to stop and take a drink during the test.
Just to hold it down.
It was a long drink too. It's not like it's a sip. It's like glug, 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 glug.
We don't want to show off.
Yeah.
Every time you take the test, it's with a human because you have to be able to say that you got them on a technicality.
Yeah. There's nothing in the rule book that says that I can't win a typing test that way.
Oh no, you'd have a typing trophy.
But I definitely am not using any of the biochem classes. That's not really affected my life too much anymore.
Well, now that you've developed alpha brain, what's the point, right?
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing is like, see, the thing is with that biochem class, it was all like nonsense and bullshit. They're trying to shove you down this so-called Western science. But, alpha brain monkey mindset it's a lot of old world knowledge and common sense. And that's a big thing that I'm trying to have a comeback. Common sense.
Is there a difference between common sense and common horse sense?
Well, yeah. Common horse sense mostly involves eating apples and hay, sugar cubes, when to kick, when to kick Johnny. Stuff, when to jump, when to stay still, whether you should what kind of humans you should let ride you, what kind you should buck off.
Right.
Boy, I sure like a good Clydesdale. We're batting 100.
Right.
We're batting 100 in a realm we're supposed to be batting 1,000.
We're 3 outfielders letting the ball land right in the middle. Over and over and over again.
Staring at each other.
I thought you were going to get it.
So, do we solve this one?
I think so.
This keyboard issue?
Okay.
I don't know.
It's stupid. It's fucking dumb.
Yeah, I feel like that's the problem. It's not your fault, Kevin.
No,
it's just a dumb thing they're doing.
Let me ask you something, because I did have a question for this. If you can redesign the keyboard onto some device, like onto something around you, like it could be on a PlayStation controller, it could be on your coffee cup, it could be on whatever. Like, where would you install your magic keyboard that you're just like, this is the perfect keyboard?
On a wrist, on my forearm, on a forearm guard that could also shield me from knives.
Ooh,
that's the That's what we need to be moving towards.
Yeah.
You could write your poetry while you're blocking knives. Brian writes a lot of poetry. Just
did you
people out
did you pronounce that right? I don't think that's
poetry.
Okay, all right. Was he saying poetry?
I think he meant poetry.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I would actually do the design would be the same as that new Google keyboard, the long one, the real long one, but it would just go on my dick.
That's a design
because it's so because it's so big. You see,
your proud smile. If only the listener could see how happy you are.
Because it's so long. You see. Oh, and it'd have to be a real big font too.
Mm.
And don't forget, and on this one, we're gonna have to have the second row of numbers because I've got the little extra, quad of numbers to the side.
You mean the number pad?
The number pad, sure.
Number pad. That's right.
And then I like that at the very end, at the tip of my dick, it's just gonna say enter.
So I rescind my question.
My shaft, where the shaft meets the base, it says escape. And at the very tip of my dick, it says enter. I don't even know what that means exactly, but I like it. I think it works good.
It's like the psychic thing.
Yeah, it is. It is like the psychic thing. Yeah, it means something.
It does.
So our next story... I gotta wait for Brian to stop laughing. I'm narrating to the audience on stuff that's going to get cut out.
Okay.
So our next story comes to us from Boing Boing.
What?
Is
it another story about my dick?
So this is a story about you a little bit. This is a story about you a little bit, Mike. So as I think we all know, Mike used to be the best bartender in Austin. Is that right, Mike?
That's true. It's true. Yeah. I won a number of awards. I was actually announced as I was known as Austin's bad boy barista as well.
Wow. Was that a title or was that an award?
It was both. It was a title and an award. They did a reader's poll, and then we got nominated. And then there was people would come in to check like the contest. You wouldn't know who they were, but the judges would come in, and I'd go like, it'd say stuff like, "Would you like that for here to go, bitch?"
Oh,
yeah.
Savage.
Yeah. I'd take their name, I'd write it down on the cup, but I'd never call it out. Just leave her hanging, leave her wanting more.
Mike,
that's some bad boy shit,
That is.
Yeah. So yeah, I was Austin's number one bad boy barista.
So
more
Mike,
nuanced episode, but I didn't know we were going to get into this stuff.
Yeah.
This is pretty.
Yeah.
It's tense. So Mike, despite your bartending and barista skills, it's a good thing that you've moved on to this lucrative INS hosting job because the days of human bartenders may be over. A group of researchers at the University of Naples have created the world's first robotic bartender. This bartending robot, also known as Brillo, like the Brillo pad, wears a vest and a bow tie and has a plastic human-looking face that lights up.
Like Johnny Cab?
Well, not that advanced. It
Get
just
ready
looks
for
like,
a surprise.
It doesn't blow up to my knowledge either. So Brillo can make nearly any drink, and not only does it remember customers, but it can remember their favorite drinks. It also studies the faces and speech patterns of its customers, so it can detect what kind of mood they're in. It takes this information and then uses machine learning to chat with the customers, and it even cracks jokes if your mood is right. Personally, I can't wait until they make a version for podcast co-hosts.
Hey.
Not very nice.
Oh, cool.
Well, you're replaced as a bartender. I mean, your days are numbered.
I didn't get replaced. I left. They didn't ask me to leave. I left.
Yeah, sure.
I can get that job back right now if I wanted to.
Right.
And I'll out fucking make margaritas a bartender. Let's have us a little what was it? Steamboat Johnny? What's the guy? Steamboat
Johnny.
Steamboat
Johnny, the guy.
Steamboat Willie and John Henry, I think.
John Henry, yes.
Oh, okay.
John Henry. I'll just have a John Henry contest with the robot, and we're just cracking open PBRs and mixing up salty margs, salty dogs margaritas, kamikaze in Long Island, and a sex on the beach.
If I asked Brillo to make me a Bloody Mary at 1:30 a.m. on a Saturday, Brillo's going to make it. What are you going to do?
I'm going to say, oh, well, how spicy would you like your BM? You want me to get you? You want a BM? You want a BM that is? I'll make your BM so spicy that it'll sting. You want to feel a real sting when you're having your BM? Ooh,
okay, that's fair.
Take a sniff of that BM. Ooh, that's some stanky BM.
That's why you're the best, Mike.
Yeah, that's why you won that award.
Do you think Brillo's going to know to do that?
Brillo probably doesn't know what a BM is.
Oh, come on. Surely that's part of the machine learning. That's like day one stuff. That's day one robotics.
For now, Brillo's Italian. He doesn't. Yeah. I don't know what they call a Bloody Mary.
Wait, he's an Italian. Is this an Italian robot?
Yeah,
Italian
they
robot.
made it at the University of Naples.
Mamma mia! I like make you a beera. Manja.
We've broken Brian. You can't.
I'm not worried. Is what I'm getting at here is I'm not worried about this.
Yeah, listen, Brian's wiping his eyes.
Now that is a spicy meatball. I will say though, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's bartending's like a good job that you can make like some pretty good money on. But I mean, I guess once you've like scanned in your ID, like there really isn't any reason for interaction in there, right. Like it could become a thing. I mean, it could take off. I don't think that it would ever like completely, at least within our lifetimes, ever like completely replace human bartenders. But I like the last bar that I worked at for a long time, but it gets a lot sometimes. There were definitely moments that I would have liked to have clocked out and had a robot take over.
Oh, that'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's probably a lot of jobs that are going to go that way. That I don't know how quickly, but I mean, at some point there will be a lot of like Johnny Cabs and and like it's probably not even out of our lifetimes. Certainly not mine because I have the ambulance. It's gonna
you're
going forever and ever. But yeah, like I don't know why not. Like,
well, somebody's got to maintain the robots, and maybe
that's true.
Yeah,
hang out with the robot.
You get smaller robots to maintain the larger robots.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll tell you off. If I'm at a place that has a kiosk I can order off of, as opposed to a human, I do it every single time.
Yeah.
If I any kind of even at 7-Eleven they had, and this wasn't a robot taking a job necessarily, but they have much more sophisticated coffee machines now.
Oh,
so it's not just an urn that you pull a lever.
Right.
It's you decide what you want.
I do like all those options.
And it doesn't brew it. But yeah, it's like the fancy Coke machine that some places have.
Yeah, they have one of those at the airport too, where it like, there you can do all the different sizes and types of espresso and it's pretty.
It tastes about right,
pretty nice.
It's no better or worse than what a coffee joint has. And I am to the point like I don't want to. I'm not like a crazy anti-Starbucks person, but I'm so tired of having my traffic and my drive being made more difficult by people trying to get in and out of Starbucks restaurants that I now hate Starbucks.
Yeah, okay. I'm not a fan either.
I found out that one of only two unionized Starbucks in DFW is in Denton. So I'm I have not gone by there, but I'm playing it sometime just to be like.
I read on Twitter today, like they were supposed to have meetings, and the Starbucks people all walked out of the meeting.
Nice.
Not the union folks, but the anti-union folks.
Oh, boo!
I don't know if that means good. I don't know if that means
it's hard to.
I don't know what that means, but
I heard they had Pinkertons running the store now.
What? I did see a lot of bowler hats when I was in there.
My coffee was made by A man with a Raleigh Fingers mustache. That's right.
Yeah, a lot of Raleigh Fingers mustaches and bowler hats.
Yeah. Wearing the old style bike with a big wheel in front, little wheel in back.
They were parked out front. Yeah. I don't know. I do think that I would rather, unless the AI, this has been a while, the AI gets to a point where it recognizes you and knows that this guy's pretty cool. I'm gonna give him a little extra sauce at the same price.
Right.
That's what I like, is a bartender who's like got a little bit of a heavy hand.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
that's what I used to like, and now I'm old, and I'm like, don't make it strong. I gotta.
But man, just imagine a bar that is, again, I've said now on a couple episodes that there's no pretense about drinking to me. When it's time to drink, it's because you want to feel the effects of alcohol.
Right.
A bar that is just no frills, just cinder block. You walk in, it's like instead of 4 ATMs, there's 4 friendly Italian robots named Brillo, all ready to make me whatever it is I want. Make it fast and a little bit cheaper because there's no labor cost involved.
Oh, they're charging you more for the robot drinks.
Yeah, they will at first, and then somebody's going to say, "Hey, I can make a robot. I'm going to get this off-brand Italian robot."
Yeah,
good old American Johnny Appleseed style ingenuity.
I'll go get a Croatian robot.
Are they Croats?
Croats.
Yeah, I think so. Croatians.
Their cigarettes aren't very good. Remember that.
So our next story is an arts and culture story. And this is, I'm going to just say, I'm going to read the title here. This is one of my favorite stories we've done in a long time.
Oh, wow.
I'm really, really excited about this one.
Even better than the Italian robot bartenders, because getting to meet one was one of the great joys of my life.
Well, let me read the title for you, Brian, just to set the mood, and then you tell me.
All right.
So this story comes to us from Vice.
Which one?
Which one?
Collecting Spoons.
Okay.
So the title is Meet the Polish LARPers Who Pretend to be American.
Well, I like this. This is like that movie.
LARPing standing for live action role playing, right?
That was my first sentence here. So thanks for summing that up, Mike.
Right.
Well, and also I want people to know that GURPS stands for Generic Universal Role Playing Systems, and MERPS is Middle Earth Role Playing Systems. Now, GURPS being spelled GURPS, MERPS being spelled MERPS.
Are we going to talk about the movie The Experts? Is that what this is about?
Ooh, yeah! Wow,
what?
that's a reference. Wow. God damn.
What's his name?
Ari something and John Travolta.
Yeah. Right after the John Travolta peak. Just the John Travolta crash, I think, happened with that movie.
That movie was such a huge flop that it kind of tanked his career for a number of years.
It was also directed by Dave Thomas of Wendy's fame.
Oh, Wendy's.
Yeah.
Didn't hurt him near as bad.
No, Dave Thomas, the comedian. So anyway.
Dave Thomas was adopted, by the way.
And
his daughter
Wendy's
Wendy
guy.
was adopted.
I know she was adopted.
Square hamburgers.
Because they used to call him a Square.
It's first established in Ohio.
Well,
they used to call Dave Thomas the Square, and the bullies would go and carve squares into his fat belly with knives.
But you know what? Do you know what Dave Thomas would say?
There's a reference to a conversation we had before we started recording.
Dave Thomas would say, "It's okay. It's no biggie."
So, as Mike pointed out, LARPing stands for live action role playing.
And I also pointed out that GURPS stands for Generic Universe. Okay,
well,
continue. Sorry.
All right.
Hang on real quick. I know GURPS, but what does MERP stand for?
Middle Earth Role Playing Systems. Possibly you want to pretend to be Frodo or his great uncle Bilbo.
What if
both hobbits? Now you have to roll a different class to play, say, Aragorn.
What if I just want to live out a life in the Shire? Can I do that with MERPs?
I mean, I think there probably would be a system for that. I mean, you might have to deal with the desolation of Smaug at some point.
So, LARPing usually entails people dressed in medieval outfits or as vampires or anime characters who then play out a role-playing game in real public spaces, often to the annoyance of the people around them.
The Masquerade.
Yeah, the vampire game was called The Masquerade.
Yes. Oh, it was.
Yes.
There was a time when we, in our youth, when you could not go to the hangout area of Denton, Texas, without people being like, I am Vampire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in Poland, a 29-year-old computer forensics tech has taken this to a whole new level. The man explained, quote, inspired by Stranger Things and X-Files, we wanted to recreate a small town in the United States where strange things happen, and because of that, men in black arrive. To do this, the man and his group of LARPers found an old resort and converted it into an American-style trailer park. Each year for the past 5 years, the group has then created an elaborate plot and roles with up to 200 participants living like they're in a small rural Ohio town on the 4th of July for 28 hours. He said that each year there are about 700 pages of scripted plots, events, and characters before adding, quote, during the game, about a dozen people are responsible for technical issues, moving, preparing the scenery, events, props, setting off fireworks, erecting the tables, all playing various roles of supporting characters. The game itself deals with the supernatural, but it also incorporates real-life problems facing America, such as poverty, the cost of healthcare, and it, quote, also deals with crime, and we have a drug creation motif, like in Breaking Bad. Once Americans started seeing pictures of the event online, he said he started getting emails, quote, they keep saying there aren't enough old cars, not enough trash, that the barbecues are too small, that the people are too clean, too slim, and too pretty. Their words, not mine. Though one commenter said the Cleveland Browns jersey one person was wearing got them, quote, extra points.
You know, you don't get to make fun of our trailer park, and that's pretty shitty.
I don't think they're making fun. They're celebrating.
I feel like this feels very elitist to me. It's like they're playing poor, kind of, and then the Americans that are commenting are like looking down on the common man, the common Ohioan, who just has his workaday life, getting ready to be replaced by robots. Probably some kind of Italian bartending robot. Yeah. The last thing he needs is to be mocked by a bunch of Polish folks.
They're Poles. Yeah.
Yeah, he comes home.
They don't need that.
Finds his wife in bed with a goddamn Italian robot. What are you doing? And the robot's like, she complete my sentences. I fulfill her in ways you cannot.
I'm imagining that they built robot genitals.
yeah, Italian robot genitals.
Oh no!
Well, I want to know more about the game. Like, I mean, right. It sounds like if there's supernatural stuff, and then that's got to be in the forefront as opposed to like the touches of like healthcare or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of like kind of Stranger Things-esque stuff.
Now, if somebody hasn't seen that before,
I think they've seen Stranger Things just about it.
Is it set in the 80s?
That's a good question. It didn't say. I think it could be, but I think it just depends on what they're.
They said older cars or whatever.
Well, I think the idea is that, Ohio is kind of the Rust Belt. So you see a lot of rusty old cars on blocks and stuff.
I would honestly, sounds like it could be kind of fun. It sounds like a lot of people are putting like work into it and stuff.
Yeah. They definitely are very dedicated to having it look and feel right.
I would probably go play that, see what it's like. And I would take it seriously the whole time.
Too seriously.
I would like to be someone who would go play that. I wish I was someone that was able to go do it and not.
Why aren't you able? I don't understand what you're saying.
I have a hard time with 28 hours of of that would be hard for me.
It's a 28-hour experience, they said. I wonder, do you sleep?
It's like 4th of July weekend, and I think probably you sleep some, but I can't imagine like a supernatural event that there aren't times when in the middle of the night when something's got to happen, whether that's a werewolf or UFOs or some abductions.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get like staying up all night, and that's the fun part. But for anything, but come 8 a.m., 8 to 10, 8 to 11, I'm going to need my naps.
Right.
Do they hang out afterwards and like have an after party? It would be weird to show up for 28 hours and then just sleep. Because then, when do you sleep? Gotta go home. There's a lot of logistics. I'm worried about the logistics of this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it didn't make it clear, but
haphazard.
If 200 people are doing this and they've got the cost, a guy in Poland is wearing a Cleveland Browns shirt. I mean, they're pretty fucking dedicated. And I guess one of the big things also is that some Americans found out about this and like, hey, can we send you things? And one of the big things they want are the big red Dixie cups, because they don't have those in Europe, and they have them in like
Solo cup.
The red Solo cup. I'm sorry,
yeah.
But because they have them in every American movie, so they're like, oh, they have these at every party, and really they just have them in movies.
Well, kind of do.
Well, the big thing about having them in movies is you don't have to put anything in them. So everybody's drinking out of these cups, but they're not really drinking anything, and you can't tell because they're not clear.
I mean, the movies in the Jack Warden movies, we use whatever real beverage the characters would be drinking.
That's commitment.
So if it's cheap beer, we put cheap beer in there.
Mm-hmm.
We're always going for a very realism sort of thing.
What if there's snake venom
juice in there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that were to happen, yes, there would be snake venom in those.
That was I think a central plot device of one of the last 2 or 3 Jack Wardens that I saw.
So how much snake venom have you drank in a scene, like total, like over all the takes?
I don't know how much is in how much can fill up a 2-liter bottle?
I think that's around 67 ounces.
Yeah, so that much.
Wow.
So much snake venom. Yeah.
Whatever the amount you could fill up a 2-liter bottle of Coke with. Of venom.
Wow.
So yeah, we basically have an assembly line of people milking snakes. Which is what you call it when you...
Yeah.
Well, obviously, yeah.
I think I saw that for the first time on That's Incredible.
Yeah.
A baby food jar, and you string like some balloon or something on top of it.
Yeah, or some rubber.
You hold their mouth down and It sounds really cruel, actually.
Yeah, that was always a fun segment. The old let's show you how to get the anti-venom made segment. Yeah. Now TV is just fucking tits and dragons.
I mean, at that age, I kind of did wish TV was just tits and dragons. I gotta admit.
Well, you're lucky because that's all it is now. Well, I don't know. It sounds cool to me. What's the name of it?
I didn't see, everything was translated from Polish. Like they had it in Vice, but it would be translated from Polish. So I don't know what they call their event. I think LARPing must be big there. If you're getting 200 people to LARP as Americans.
Does it translate into the one cool thing Poland does?
Poland, there's some good Polish movies.
Like what?
The Three Colors trilogy. Blue, white, and rouge.
That's those are the colors of the American flag. See, they're obsessed with this.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Is it pro USA? the I don't know, I mean, we were able to we probably almost pull up those numbers on some of the haunted houses we do during Halloween time every year, of which I have not been to one, but in the last couple of years.
I'm sure it's fun, and as I recall, I think Poland is where the guy who wrote that show or the books, the Witcher books, is from.
Oh yes,
right?
yes,
yeah, that's true.
There's a really good gaming clearinghouse, I think, in Poland.
It was with the Cyberpunk games made by a Polish company. I think they were.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
I believe they were. Yeah. So there's, there is a lot of great, and I think maybe they came up with some kind of vaccine in Poland recently, or not recently, but
did they come up with the Fauci ouchie?
No, but I'm so glad that's what you're calling it. I have not heard that. The Fauci ouchie.
You never heard the Fauci ouchie?
Wow, that's my least favorite one. I'm shocked that you've never heard that, Brian.
Yeah, it's called the Fauci ouchie. And have I told you me and my mom's opinion on Fauci?
No,
we hate him. He'll have his one day.
Mm-hmm. The good people of Poland suffered under the iron boot of the former Soviet Union.
True.
That was terrible. You know what? I take it.
It's a vibrant country with a vibrant history.
I'm turning around on Poland. I feel like maybe I almost slipped into American propaganda of the Eastern Bloc, and I'm saying, you know what? Warsaw, not that bad.
Poland, you get the INS bump.
Oh, stand by. Invest now. Buy in now, ladies and gentlemen. This is your chance. You want to ride this all the way to the top.
All right. What do we got next?
We got you, Mike. We got a new story from Get to Know Your Podcast.
Well, this is an official back to getting to know your podcast. Sometimes on these podcasts that we do, we might make a reference to a thing you might not know about so much because we have such intelligentsia of obscure things. And we would like to take this time to illuminate some of those things that have come up. I'll be naming what this series is, but right now I'll start with this. Airwolf is an American action military drama television series that centers on a high technology military helicopter codenamed Airwolf.
Yes.
Whoa.
So Airwolf was a TV show that's, I believe, made a number of appearances on the INS podcast. Fellas, do you have any recollections of watching the TV show Airwolf?
Absolutely. I think I've seen every episode.
Well, see, I really liked the show Blue Thunder. And when Airwolf came on, it was so Blue Thunder was about a militarized police helicopter that blew a lot of shit up in LA and was also bulletproof. And then at exactly the same time, Airwolf came on, and I was a Blue Thunder guy. I thought Airwolf was boring. I thought Jan Michael Vincent was boring. I didn't think the action was any good. I was not a fan.
Blue Thunder did have, I believe, Dick Butkus and Bubba Smith.
That is correct.
Two football stars, former football player stars were in it. I
think Dana Carvey was in that too.
He may have been. There was Blue Thunder was coming off a movie. There was a movie version of Blue Thunder starring Roy Scheider and
Malcolm McDowell.
Malcolm, I did not even know that. But Blue Thunder was kind of like a real kind of standard military looking helicopter with a big Gatling gun up front, whereas Airwolf was kind of its own, probably completely. It looked very sleek and kind of. I don't think that they made any other helicopters that looked like Airwolf. And the deal with Airwolf was it was much faster. It could go so fast, and had a lot more missiles and guns. It was super fast. It could definitely Blue Thunder was somewhat more grounded in the realism of helicopters, whereas Airwolf was sort of the. It couldn't talk, but it was sort of the Knight Rider. The kit of helicopters. This was the era where if you had a TV show, it had better be based around a vehicle of some sort.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yes.
This was in 1984. It had 4 seasons, but I don't know if you can really count the 4th season. Had three.
Didn't Ernest Borgnine die off in the Wasn't he killed?
There's 3 seasons that were set that CBS did, and then the 4th season they canceled it, and then I think a year later USA picked it up. But on the first episode, they kill off Ernest Borgnine, and Jan Michael Vincent, who is the star, gets hurt really bad and is only in for the first 15 minutes, just kind of to kind of hand off the episode. I don't even know if they had new footage of Ernest Borgnine when they killed him off.
No, they just show him from behind. It's just a body double.
So the main cast was Jan Michael Vincent, who we'll get into maybe not even totally today, Ernest Borgnine, and then I don't know, and Ernest Borgnine being, I think he gets referenced quite a lot on this show as well. He was a man that looked he had the face of a bulldog.
Yeah.
In a real lovable way, but very bulldog looking. He's the actor that was in Escape from New York and it's tons of movies, the Wild Bunch.
He could play sinister and lovable
at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A great man.
And it had Alex Cord, Deborah Pratt, I'm not familiar with. Gene Bruce Scott, who was added a regular in seasons 2 and 3. The program was originally, like I said, it was originally on CBS and the USA Network, which I don't think I ever really saw that much. That must have been a newish. USA was probably pretty new, and I'm sure that the budget went way down. The show had a really cool, distinctive musical score, but real synth-based, kind of cool synthesizer stuff in the second season was real, and that kind of the title sequence it says Airwolf, and then there's a very 80s grid sort of display, like would be on a Trapper Keeper was behind it. And what it was about was Airwolf is an advanced prototype of a supersonic helicopter with stealth capabilities and formidable arsenal. Airwolf was designed by Charles Henry Moffat, a genius with a psychopathic taste for torturing and killing women.
Wow.
And it was built by a thing called the Firm, a division of the Central Intelligence Agency, and they always call it the company. They're always referring to it as company.
Yeah, I remember that.
So when the series begins, the crazy guy, he and his crew, they steal Airwolf during a live fire weapons test. And during the theft, Moffat, the bad guy, he opens fire on the Firm's bunker, and he kills a U.S. senator and seriously injures the deputy director. And the deputy director is kind of like the Q that they go to, but his name is Archangel. His code name is like.
Does he have an eye patch?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the bad guy takes Airwolf to Libya, where he starts performing acts of aggression, and he like destroys an American destroyer. Guess who he's working for? Gaddafi.
Whoa.
Who was the most like Gaddafi was such the villain of our childhood. Like he was really way more than I remember.
Yeah.
Way more hate for him probably even than Saddam Hussein until like
when we were kids. Yeah.
When we were kids, like Gaddafi was the bad guy. And I think even the thing too, where Gaddafi legitimately looked like a movie bad guy compared to Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein kind of like dumpy and stuff, but Gaddafi like had like a fucking perm and like way too many gaudy medals and like fucking aviator sunglasses all the time.
It was the worst, right? Iron Eagle was anti-Gaddafi, right? Iron Eagle series,
right.
Iron Eagle movies.
I think
Sounds
so.
right.
Yeah. But yeah, so evil bad guy is he's living in Libya with Gaddafi. So Archangel, the eye-patched Archangel, recruits the reclusive Stringfellow Hawk,
such a good name,
former test pilot. He's a former test pilot of the development of Airwolf. He was a gunship pilot, and he's played by Jan Michael Vincent, who is a sort of just non-actor pretty boy of that time who was in a lot of stuff.
I always thought he looked really, really ugly. Was he a pretty boy?
Oh yeah, he was very 70s handsome.
Okay.
He had
That's fair.
Flowing, kind of
bowl cut, kind of
feathered hair. So he recruits Stringfellow Hawk, and then he leaves his assistant, Gabrielle Admoir, who immediately becomes Stringfellow's love interest. They go to Stringfellow Hawk's cabin to brief him for the mission. A week later, after an undercover operative in Libya is killed in the line of duty, Gabrielle is sent undercover, and Hawk is sent in sooner than originally planned.
Oh.
With the assistance of pilot and father figure Dominic Santini, played by Ernest Borgnine.
Now, could you do me a favor and say that name as though you were an Italian robotic bartender?
Dominic Santini, yeah. Dominic Santini. Stringfellow finds and recovers Airwolf, but Gabrielle is tortured and killed by Moffat. So Stringfellow gets in Airwolf, and he obliterates Moffat with a hail of missiles from Airwolf before returning to the United States. Instead of returning the gunship, Hawk and Santini booby trap the Airwolf, and they hide it in the lair, which is a large cave that it lives in the remote Valley of the Gods, which is they visually similar to Monument Valley.
Okay.
Hawk refuses to return Airwolf until the Firm can find and recover his brother, St. John. His brother's name's St. John. He went missing in action in the Vietnam War, which was another big thing back in the day.
Every dramatic hero, every action hero had to have been in Vietnam.
Yeah, for sure. And there was a lot of missing in action. Either they were captured, or they had somebody they needed to get back and capture, and they needed help. So in order to obtain access to Airwolf, Archangel offers Stringfellow Hawk protection from the other government agencies who want to recover Airwolf. In return, Stringfellow and Santini must fly missions of national importance for the firm. So the firm for the first 3 seasons is both an ally and an enemy for Hawk and Santini.
Wow.
With an opportunity to see Airwolf presented itself, they would often go for it. The first season of the series was dark and arc-driven and quite reflective of the contemporary Cold War, with the firm personnel distinctly dressed in white, implicitly boasting that wearing white hats distinguished them from good instead of evil. Hawk remained unconvinced. And Santini was skeptical also. This was explained in the season 1 episode, Daddy's Gone A-Huntin'. Early episodes frequently detail the efforts of the United States government to recover Airwolf from Hawk, who was officially charged with having stolen it. Well, because CBS wanted to make the series more family-oriented, the program just transformed in season 2 into more of a lighthearted show, and Hawk and Santini are portrayed as cooperative partners in the firm. This persisted into the 4th season with the newly introduced company and the new crew of Airwolf. So yeah, like season 3 is all like a new crew, and I never really watched that. Did y'all?
No, I only ever caught it on TV occasionally.
I don't remember it. I know that Airwolf was a big player on a weekly basis. And I do remember the tone being, because that was like, was it the same time as the A-Team?
Yeah. The same era? Yeah.
Like, era for sure. I mean, some of those years had to cross over. 84. If it was 84 to 87, then certainly A-Team was going on.
Well, the A-Team, because the A-Team had that same, they're doing good work, and especially before they added the special effects guy. But like, yeah, before that, they were doing good work. But you know, what was it? Colonel Decker was out to get them. Right, the army still wanted to hunt them down because they were AWOL.
Yeah,
it was much more happy-go-lucky. And I remember specifically seeing episodes of Airwolf, and it being like it was a little. It wasn't as easy to recognize as just a fun story when I was a kid. Like I could tell there was more to it. That was
you had a helicopter that shot missiles every week. So
right. And it wasn't always for sure they were going to get away in a real kind of, adventure hero way.
I feel like he had a number of dead love interests.
Like he killed them?
No, like he would date them. They would get killed, or they would end up being evil, and he would maybe kill. I don't know. The deaths were never graphic on screen, but they would turn on him, and they would be flying some sort of other equally capable ship, and he'd have to gun them down and blow them up or whatever.
The age of the helicopter.
Well, let me tell you about the main characters.
Okay.
Stringfellow, quote, String Hawk, played by Jan Michael Vincent. When Stringfellow Hawk was 10, he and his parents were involved in a boating accident. He was rescued by his brother St. John after parents drowned. So St. John saves him, but his parents drown.
Were his parents unable to come up with a normal name?
They were not. That was one of their same flaws. That and being unable to swim were their only 2 weaknesses.
Right.
After the death of his parents and subsequent death of his girlfriend in a car crash. So, man, God.
Whoa.
This is the first girlfriend, right? This isn't episode 1 girlfriend.
Okay.
Stringfellow grew to believe that anyone he loved was destined to die.
Yeah.
And died tragically.
Faceman did not see the world this way.
In a U.S. Army mission during the Vietnam War, Stringfellow was separated from his brother, St. John. Stringfellow was rescued, but St. John was not. St. John was subsequently listed as MIA, causing Stringfellow to further withdraw from society. And Stringfellow, the badass pilot, Vietnam vet, sniper, also has a master's degree in applied physics.
Yes.
Obviously.
Right.
And while often hot-tempered, he could also be pragmatic. He was also an avid fisherman, and he ate fish but refused to eat red meat. He also refused, this is canon, he also refused to wear underwear. Stringfellow lived in seclusion in a log cabin by Lake Hemet with his blue-tick coonhound named Tet, named after the 1968 Communist Tet Offensive, where he serenaded eagles on his priceless Stradivarius cello. So he's also, on top of being a good fisherman, he's also a really good cello player, and had a Stradivarius, which is,
is it fair to say that he's a real Jack Wharton type?
There is a little bit of Wharton. It does have Wharton vibes.
Wow.
He also had a remarkable collection of rare paintings, which his grandfather collected for his grandmother. So, he has rare paintings. Jack Wharton has every issue of Doctor Strange. In perfect mint condition. So they're both art. They're both like art people.
Sure.
In 1982, Stringfellow served as a test pilot for the Airwolf during its deployment program. He was one of several pilots to fly Airwolf, and the firm recruited him to recover Airwolf after its designer. At some point, he does end up getting his brother St. John back, and St. John's the person that nurses him back to health in the hospital when he gets blown up in the beginning of season 3, and then he goes to live with his brother.
Oh.
So all's well that ends well, right? Dominic Dom Santini was played by Ernest Borgnine. Santini was born and raised on the fictional Caribbean island of San Remo. Santini was one of the Italian Americans that lived there, and he was bilingual, speaking both English and Italian fluently. A ladies' man in his youth, because you can imagine Ernest Borgnine being a ladies' man.
Yes.
Dominic was forced to marry Lila, a young woman from a wealthy family, when she falsely claimed to be carrying his child. And then she would not truly become pregnant until years later in their marriage. Now, though Lila left Dominic and took their daughter, Sally Ann, when Sally was 7, Dominic always kept his cottage in San Remo in the hope that Sally would return. Sally Ann followed a jet-set existence focused on the casino in San Remo. Lila used Sally to provide her with male companionship. Sally Ann Santini died of a drug overdose in 1984, which devastated Dominic. Weeks later, Lila was murdered by San Remo's criminal element while attempting to blackmail the owner of San Remo Casino. When Dominic was arrested for her murder, Stringfellow helped bring the guilty parties to justice and used Airwolf to destroy the casino. Santini's other known relatives include his younger brother, Tony Santini, and Tony's daughter, Jo Santini, who become important supporting characters on the series during its 4th and final season. Dominic also has another niece, Holly Matthews, who suffers from a delusional emotional illness and nearly causes disaster for her uncle and his friends during a season 2 episode called The Truth About Holly. Santini was a veteran of World War II and the Korean War and a combat aviator for the U.S. Army. He got to be good friends with Stringfellow because he was friends with Stringfellow's father. And when when they were killed in that boating accident, boats, Santini is the one who raised Stringfellow and St. John. And then so obviously Santini has a vested interest in finding St. John in those dark torture chambers of the Vietnam killing fields. And also Archangel. Santini doesn't like Archangel and derisively refers to him as Mr. Clean. That'll show him. So yeah, he dies in the thing. But so there's a later episode where there is a character named William Lucking, and Lucking. Oh no, the actor was William Lucking, where there is supposed to be a backdoor pilot for Magnum PI, and originally like Magnum PI was going to get introduced on Airwolf, and then they were going to spin it off to that. And that episode exists, but at some point, it didn't end up happening. And years later, they were able to push Magnum PI. I'm going to get more in the next episode into Stringfellow Hawk, the actor that played Stringfellow Hawk, Jan Michael Vincent, because he's pretty goddamn interesting. But we'll also later get into Magnum PI because we are talking about the producer, Donald P Belasario, who did a number of shows. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this marks the start of the Belasariosance.
Ooh, I'm excited now.
I've been looking forward to this one.
There'll be some more, a little bit more Airwolf stuff because Jan Michael Vincent's career is pretty wild and woolly.
Yeah,
right.
He's still alive, right?
No.
Oh, okay. So I want to add one thing to everything that you've been saying real quick, which is Ernest Borgnine at 91 years old was on Fox and Friends, and they asked him his secret to staying young, to which he responded, I masturbate a lot. I masturbate to stay active.
Well,
cool guy.
I'll do it. Super cool
guy. That it might be the magic amulet or it might be the other thing. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'll just say I'm not going to walk around without my amulet, but I'm also going to not take any other shortcuts to make sure I live a
there you go. There you go.
Why life?
Why risk it? You're a real belt and suspenders guy.
Exactly.
Nice. So that wraps up another week of the International News Service. Find us across social media at International News Pod. Email us at internationalnewspod@gmail.com. Be sure to send us some images the next time you LARP as the INS hosts. Check out the INS merch store at Redbubble and our Patreon. We'll see you next week.